You ever catch someone looking at you in a way that makes your stomach twist, not because it's wrong, but because it feels too right? That's how it started with him. My stepbrother, Ethan. His eyes lingered too long, his smiles carried a weight they shouldn't. I'm not supposed to feel this way. We're not supposed to feel this way. But every time he's near, the air feels heavier, like we're both holding our breath, waiting for something we can't name. One glance, one brush of his hand, and I'm questioning everything: my family, my morals, my heart. What's worse, confessing a love that could tear us apart or burying it so deep it eats us alive? I'm Lily, 22, and this is my story, a secret I've kept for 2 years, one that could destroy the only family I've got left. Ethan came into my life when our parents married 5 years ago. He was 19 then, quiet, with this intensity that made me nervous, not in a bad way, just aware. We were strangers forced to share a house, a table, a life. But somewhere along the way, the lines blurred. A late-night talk turned into a confession neither of us could take back. Now, we're stuck in this dance, close enough to feel it, far enough to pretend it's not there. Every day, I wonder, does he feel the guilt I do? The shame? Or is he braver than me, ready to risk it all? If anyone finds out, our parents, our friends, it's over. The family we've built, the trust, the normalcy, it'll shatter. But the scariest part? I don't know if I want to stop feeling this way. I don't know if I can. Stick with me, because this story isn't just about love, it's about the cost of wanting what you shouldn't. Have you ever felt something you couldn't say out loud? Let's dive into the mess of it all. I was 17 when my mom met David, Ethan's dad. My parents had been divorced for years, and Mom was a wreck, lonely, working double shifts at the hospital, trying to keep us afloat. David was different. He was steady, kind, the kind of guy who'd bring her coffee just because. I saw her smile again, really smile, and it felt like a weight lifted off me. I was happy for her, truly. But when they got married a year later, it meant upheaval. We moved into David's house, a big, creaky place in the suburbs with faded paint and a backyard that hadn't been mowed in months. Ethan's room was down the hall, still covered in his old band posters and engineering textbooks. He was away at college then, so I didn't meet him until the wedding. I can still picture him standing there, tall, with dark hair falling into his eyes, shaking my hand like we were at some formal event. "Hey, I'm Ethan. Guess we're family now." His voice was low, almost gravelly, and I laughed to cover the weird flutter in my chest. I told myself it was just nerves. New family, new life, bound to feel strange, right? Living together was fine at first. Ethan came home for summers, and we'd pass each other in the kitchen, swapping small talk about school or whatever movie was on TV. He was studying engineering, always tinkering, fixing the leaky sink, building a shelf for Mom's books. I tease him about being a nerd, and he'd fire back with that smirk, some sarcastic comment that made me roll my eyes. It was normal, sibling stuff, or so I thought. But then, something shifted. I can't pinpoint when. Maybe it was the way he'd sit a little too close on the couch during our family movie nights, his arm brushing mine just long enough to make me hyper-aware of him. Or how he'd ask about my day, not the casual "how's it going," but really ask, like he wanted to know every detail of my boring college life. I started noticing things: his hands, calloused from working on his projects, his laugh, low and warm, the way his jaw tightened when he was lost in thought. I told myself it was nothing, just a stupid crush. It'd pass. I'd get over it. But it didn't pass. By the time I was 20, Ethan was 23, back home after graduating, working a local engineering job while figuring out his next move. Our parents were over the moon to have us both under one roof, this picture-perfect blended family they loved to brag about. Dinners were loud, full of stories and laughter, Mom's face glowing in a way I hadn't seen in years. But I'd catch Ethan watching me across the table, not staring, just seeing me. Like he knew something I didn't. I started finding excuses to be around him, helping with his projects in the garage, borrowing his headphones, offering to grab coffee just to ride in his car. Stupid, small things, but every moment felt electric, like we were both waiting for the other to cross a line we couldn't uncross. I'd lie awake at night, replaying the way he'd looked at me, wondering if I was imagining it. Was I crazy? Was this all in my head? One night, everything changed. It was late, maybe 2 a.m., and I couldn't sleep. My room felt too small, my thoughts too loud. I went downstairs for water and found Ethan in the living room, sprawled on the couch, sketching something in a notebook. His hair was messy, his shirt rumpled, and the light from the lamp made his face look softer than usual. He looked up, and instead of our usual banter, he said, "You ever feel like you're hiding who you are?" My heart stopped. It wasn't just the words, it was the way he said them, like he was confessing something heavy. I mumbled something dumb, like, "all the time," and sat down across from him, clutching my glass like it could anchor me. He didn't push, but his eyes didn't leave mine, and in that moment, I knew. He felt it too. This pull, this thing between us, it wasn't just me. The unease started then, creeping in like a shadow. Guilt, too. We're not blood, but we're family. Our parents sleep down the hall, blissfully unaware. If they knew. God, I can't even think about it. Mom would break, her whole world is this family, this second chance at happiness. David would hate us, maybe kick us out. And yet, every time Ethan's near, I forget how to breathe right. His presence is like a magnet, pulling me closer even when I know I should run. It's wrong, so wrong, but it's there, and it's not going away. I started waking up in a cold sweat, torn between wanting him and hating myself for it. Every smile he gave me felt like a secret, every touch like a spark that could burn the house down. How do you live with that? How do you carry something so heavy and pretend everything's fine? The next few months were a tightrope. Ethan and I never talked about that night, but it changed everything. We'd brush past each other in the hallway, and my skin would burn where his arm grazed mine. He'd leave notes on the fridge, stupid stuff like, "Don't eat my yogurt, Lily," but I'd read them over and over, searching for hidden meaning, folding them into my pocket like they were love letters. Was I crazy? Was I making this up? But then I'd catch him looking at me across the room, in the middle of a crowded family dinner, and my whole body would hum with this reckless, terrifying energy. It wasn't just attraction. It was deeper, messier, like he'd carved out a space in my heart I didn't know was there. Ethan knew me, really knew me. When I failed a class and locked myself in my room, crying, he didn't knock. He just slid a note under my door: "You're not a failure. You're just figuring it out." When Mom and I fought over my future, he'd drag me out for ice cream, let me rant until I laughed. He saw the parts of me I hid from everyone else, the doubts, the fears, the dreams I was too scared to say out loud. And I saw him, his quiet anger when David pushed him to settle down, his late-night sketches of bridges and buildings, dreams he didn't share with anyone but me. We were each other's safe place, but that safety came with a price, and we both knew it. The first real test came at Thanksgiving. Our house was packed, relatives, neighbors, David's work friends, all crammed into the dining room, spilling into the living room with plates of turkey and pie. Ethan and I got stuck on dish duty, elbow to elbow at the sink, the chaos of the house fading into the background. It felt like just us, the clink of plates and the splash of water the only sounds. His hand brushed mine under the soapy water, and neither of us pulled away. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out. Then he leaned in, just a fraction, and whispered, "You're making this really hard, you know." His voice was low, almost a growl, and it sent a shiver down my spine. My knees went weak. I laughed it off, splashed him with soap suds, but inside, I was screaming. What were we doing? This wasn't a game anymore. This was dangerous, and we were both playing with fire. That night, I heard him pacing in his room, the floorboards creaking through the wall. I wanted to knock, to say something, anything, but I didn't. Because what could I say? "I think I love you, but it'll ruin everything?" Instead, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, imagining his arms around me, then hating myself for it. The guilt was a weight in my chest, heavy and constant, like a stone I couldn't shift. We weren't just risking our feelings, we were risking our family. If Mom found out, she'd think I betrayed her, that I'd taken her happiness and smashed it. If David knew, he'd look at us like we were strangers, maybe worse. And yet, the thought of Ethan with someone else, some girl who wasn't me, who could love him freely, made me sick. I'd see him talking to a cousin or a neighbor's daughter, and jealousy would claw at me, sharp and ugly. I didn't want to feel this way, but I did, and it was tearing me apart. Things escalated at Christmas. The house was decked out, lights, a tree, Mom's over-the-top decorations everywhere. Ethan gave me a gift, just the two of us in the living room while our parents were distracted. It was a necklace, a small silver pendant with a tiny star, delicate but heavy with meaning. "Saw it and thought of you," he said, his voice casual but tight, like he was holding something back. I wore it every day, tucked under my shirt, like a secret I could touch. But secrets have a way of slipping out. Mom noticed the necklace one morning, asked where it came from. I lied, said I bought it myself, but her smile faltered, like she could sense the truth hiding behind my words. Ethan saw it too, and later, he pulled me aside in the hallway. "We need to be careful," he said, his voice low, urgent. "It's dangerous." But his hand lingered on my arm, warm and steady, and I could see it in his eyes, he didn't want to stop either. Neither did I, and that scared me more than anything. The tension kept building, like a storm gathering strength. We'd steal moments when we could, late-night talks in the garage, surrounded by his tools and sketches, drives to nowhere, just the two of us in his beat-up car, the radio low and our words heavy. Every conversation felt like a confession we couldn't quite voice, every look a step closer to the edge. But the closer we got, the worse the guilt became. I started avoiding family dinners, terrified someone would see it on my face, the way my eyes followed him, the way my breath caught when he laughed. Ethan started working late, staying out of the house until midnight, but the distance only made it worse. I'd hear his car pull in, see the headlights flash across my window, and feel this ache, like I was losing something I never really had. I'd lie in bed, clutching the necklace, wondering how we'd let it get this far. The breaking point came in spring. David threw a huge party for his 50th birthday, and the house was chaos, music blaring, people laughing, glasses clinking. Ethan and I ended up on the back porch, away from the noise, the air cool and sharp. We were tipsy, reckless, sitting too close on the old swing. He looked at me, and for once, he didn't hide it. His eyes were raw, unguarded. "I can't keep doing this," he said, his voice rough. "Pretending I don't feel what I feel." My heart stopped. I wanted to say it back, to tell him I felt it too, that I'd felt it for years. But before I could, Mom called us inside, her voice cutting through the moment like a blade. We went back in, smiled, played our parts, but I saw the hurt in his eyes, the same hurt I felt. We were trapped, loving each other, hating ourselves for it, and knowing it could never be. I went to bed that night shaking, the weight of it all crushing me. How do you choose between love and family? How do you live with a secret that feels like it's burning you from the inside out? After that night, everything felt raw, like we'd ripped open a wound neither of us could close. Ethan started pulling away, taking extra shifts at work, leaving the house before I was even up. I'd see his car gone in the morning, and it was like a punch to the gut. Was he giving up? Did he regret it? I wanted to scream at him, to demand answers, but I was too scared of what he'd say. What if he said he was done, that he couldn't handle it anymore? What if he said he didn't feel it anymore? I couldn't face that, so I buried myself in school, in work, in anything to drown out the noise in my head. But every quiet moment, it came back, the memory of his voice on the porch, the way his hand felt on mine, the way he looked at me like I was the only thing that mattered. I'd close my eyes and see him, hear him, feel him, and it was torture. I wanted to let go, but I didn't know how. The complications kept piling up. My best friend, Sarah, started noticing something was off. We'd meet for coffee, and she'd squint at me, like she was trying to read my mind. "You're weird lately," she said one day, stirring her latte. Like, sad but not sad. "What's going on, Lily?" I wanted to tell her, to spill everything, to have someone else carry this secret for just a second. But how do you explain this? "Oh, I think I'm in love with my stepbrother." She'd freak out, maybe judge me, maybe tell someone by accident. So I lied, said it was just stress from school, but Sarah wasn't buying it. She kept pushing, texting me, asking to hang out, and I started dodging her calls. Isolation felt safer, but it made the longing worse. I'd walk past Ethan's room, see his jacket on the couch, smell his cologne lingering in the air, and it had hit me all over again. This wasn't just a crush. It was love, the kind that consumes you, that makes you feel alive and sick all at once. Then there was Mom. She started asking questions, her voice soft but sharp, like she could sense something was wrong. "Why are you so quiet lately, Lily? You're not wearing that necklace anymore, what happened?" I'd hidden it in my drawer, too scared it'd give me away, but her questions made my stomach churn. One night, she cornered me in the kitchen, her hands on her hips. "Lily, are you okay? You and Ethan, you're not fighting, are you?" My heart dropped to my feet. Did she know? Could she see it in my eyes, the way I flinched when she said his name? I forced a smile, said we were fine, just busy, but her eyes lingered, and I knew she wasn't convinced. The fear of her finding out was paralyzing. She'd given up so much for me, for this family, her late nights, her dreams, her heart. If I broke it, if I tore this family apart, I'd never forgive myself. But every time I saw Ethan, every time he smiled or brushed past me, I felt like I was betraying her anyway. Ethan wasn't making it any easier. He'd come home late, exhausted, but he'd still find ways to reach me. A text at midnight, "You looked nice today." A coffee left on my desk with no note, just his handwriting on the cup. Each gesture was a lifeline, pulling me back to him, but it also hurt, like a knife twisting deeper. Because what were we doing? We couldn't be together, not really. Society wouldn't let us, people would whisper, judge, call it wrong. Our parents wouldn't let us, Mom would cry, David would rage. And yet, every time I tried to let go, I'd hear his voice from that night on the porch, "I can't keep pretending." Neither could I, but pretending was all we had. I started avoiding him too, skipping breakfast, staying late at the library, but it didn't help. He was everywhere, in my thoughts, my dreams, the ache in my chest that wouldn't go away. The tension hit a new level in summer. Ethan got an offer for a job across the country, some big engineering firm in Seattle. David was thrilled, kept talking about how proud he was, how this was Ethan's big break. Mom beamed, planning a celebration dinner. I wanted to be happy for him, to cheer like everyone else, but the thought of him leaving felt like losing a limb. I'd lie awake, imagining him 2,000 miles away, starting a new life without me. Would he forget me? Would he meet someone else, someone who could love him without guilt, without shame? The thought made my throat tight, my eyes burn. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I found him in the garage, working on some project, his hands covered in grease. "Are you really leaving?" I asked, my voice sharper than I meant. He didn't look up, just kept tinkering with whatever was in front of him. "What do you want me to do, Lily?" His voice was sharp too, but his hands were shaking. "Stay and keep torturing myself? Keep torturing you?" I wanted to scream, "Stay for me," to grab him and make him see how much I needed him. But the words caught in my throat, choked by fear and guilt. Instead, I turned and walked away, tears burning my eyes, my heart pounding so hard I thought it'd break. The next week was agony. We barely spoke, but the air between us was electric, like a storm about to break. I'd catch glimpses of him, grabbing his keys, laughing with David, and each one hurt, like a reminder of what I couldn't have. I started writing in a journal, spilling everything I couldn't say out loud, how I loved him, how I hated myself for it, how I dreamed of a world where we could just be. But that world didn't exist, and every day felt like a countdown to losing him. Then, one night, it all came crashing down. I was in my room, staring at that stupid necklace, running my thumb over the star pendant, when Ethan knocked. He didn't wait for me to answer, just came in and shut the door behind him. His face was pale, his eyes wild. "I need to say this," he said, his voice low, urgent, like he was running out of time. "I love you, Lily. I've loved you for years. And I know it's wrong, I know it's messed up, but I can't leave without you knowing." My world stopped. The air was gone, my heart was gone, everything was gone except him standing there, raw and real. I wanted to say it back, to throw my arms around him, to tell him I loved him too, that I'd loved him since that first summer, since that night in the living room, since forever. But the guilt was a wall between us, thick and unyielding. "Ethan," I whispered, my voice breaking, "we can't." He nodded, like he'd expected it, but his eyes were wrecked, shining with unshed tears. He turned and left, the door clicking shut behind him, and I sat there, sobbing, knowing I'd just let go of the one person who saw me, who knew me, who loved me despite everything. I wish I could tell you we found a way, that love conquered all, like in the movies where everything works out. But life isn't like that, not for us. Ethan took the job. He moved 2,000 miles away to Seattle, and I stayed behind, carrying this secret like a stone in my chest, heavy and cold. We don't talk much now, just texts on holidays, careful, polite, like we're strangers again. Merry Christmas, Lily. Happy birthday, Ethan. Every time I see his name on my phone, it's like the air gets thin, like I'm back in that moment, his voice in my ear, his eyes on mine. I wear the necklace again, not hidden anymore, the star pendant resting against my skin. No one knows what it means, not Mom, not David, not Sarah. It's my last piece of him, of us, a reminder of what was and what can't be. I touch it sometimes, late at night, and let myself remember the late night talks, the brush of his hand, the way he made me feel alive in a way I never have since. The twist came last month, and it broke me all over again. Ethan came home for David's birthday, just for a weekend. I didn't know he was coming, and when I saw him in the living room, my heart stopped. He looked the same, maybe a little tired, his hair a little longer, but still Ethan, still the boy who'd changed everything. We played our parts, smiling, laughing, pretending for our parents, for everyone. But that night, we ended up on the porch again, just like old times, the swing creaking under us. We talked about nothing, work, weather, stupid stuff, but it felt like everything. The weight was still there, heavy between us, but so was the warmth, the pull that never went away. Before he left, he hugged me, too long, too tight, his breath warm against my ear. "You'll always be my what if," he whispered, so quiet I almost missed it. And then he was gone, back to his life, leaving me with those words echoing in my head. I don't know if I'll ever see him again, not really, but I know I'll never stop wondering what could have been. Love like that doesn't just disappear. It lingers, it haunts, it shapes you in ways you can't undo. So here I am, telling you this because I can't tell anyone else. It's too big, too messy, too dangerous. Maybe you get it. Maybe you felt something you couldn't say out loud, loved someone you shouldn't, carried a secret that feels like it's carved into your bones. What would you do? Would you risk everything for a love that feels like home, even if it's forbidden? Would you throw it all away, family, trust, the life you've built, for a chance at something real? Or would you let it go, like I did, and live with the ache, the what-ifs, the quiet moments where you wonder if you made the right choice? I don't know the answer. I don't know if I ever will. Drop your thoughts in the comments, I read every one, and I need to know I'm not alone in this. If this story hit you, if it made you feel that twist in your chest, smash that like button, share it with someone who gets it, someone who's felt the weight of a forbidden love. And subscribe for more stories that cut deep, that make you question everything. Because sometimes, the hardest secrets aren't the ones we keep from others, they're the ones we keep from ourselves. Word count, 500 words, approximately 18-minute narration.